question on something that's sort of something somewhat different. Gay, would you been up there patiently waiting?
Look, given the current environment around the aged care system in our country at this point in time, I just have a couple of questions, one in particular question. The aged care funding system that we actually have in place at the moment is actually funding us to actually keep people unwell. It's not funding us to get them up and moving around. So the more funding comes from the more immobile and disabled that the person is. So if the person needs requirement to assistance with showering, toileting, mobility, all of those things, that's where the high level of funding is. So if we actually get them up and get them moving and get things happening, and then they're more mobile, they may not need those same amount of assistance, then the funding we get for that particular person drops. On the other hand, the person with dementia who's got multiple behavioural issues really needs a lot of monitoring, supervision and support. Because they're up, they're mobile, they can maybe shower themselves, they can feed themselves, the funding for that is very minimalistic compared to the other part of the equation. So what I'm trying to find out is why that is the case, and would any of you be looking at how that funding instrument is looked at and how that is put together to enable us to provide the appropriate level of care for our older populations and maybe reduce some of the incidences we're seeing that are appearing in our aged care system at this point in time.
Thanks, Dan. Would everybody like to respond to that, or any particular pleasure?
Go down the line. I'd like to comment.
Okay.
Hand up there too. Down the line again.
Yeah, the aged care funding instrument I might stand corrected, I'll have to do some more research on it, but it is being reviewed. I don't know if they've made a decision before government was prorogued, because it led to some distorted charging practices, particularly in a lot of the big corporate. If you looked at the figures, they were just going up exponentially, and that's why they thought the formula needs reassessing. And your comments are spot on. It's sometimes investing in keeping them healthy rather than trying to pick the pieces up when they have become inactive and they have become frozen, their muscles have got weak. So keeping people up and active is money saved.
Garrett, would you?
Yeah, well, contracting for the state government for the last 30 years, you see lots of issues in lots of areas, and this is another one where the parties have been very good at handing out money, and then that's good, we gave you $50 million, you all should be happy, but it never follows through. This is just about the nursing homes. There was not one inspection in a nursing home last year after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when most of the problems happen overnight. So the parties really need to look at a revamp of the system and really look at it. And because of all these things, and as Ed said with the drought assistance, you go through all these loopholes to fill it out, and then he wanted money to feed his cows, but he had to kick them off his property. Like it's a wacky system, and with aged care that needs to be looked after, and it needs to be sorted because we're going to have the biggest wave of retirees and elderly coming soon, and it just needs to be sorted out.
Thanks, Gay, for the question. Yes, we're the oldest electorate in Australia, and our income is amongst the lowest in Australia, and these are demographic changes that people are seeing coming for... yeah, right, we've been talking about that for a while, so we shouldn't be surprised by that, we should be ready. What you're talking about is the law of unintended consequences, and by setting certain policy settings in Canberra, things trickle down and bad things happen on the ground. That's sort of what you're talking about. And yes, of course, everybody agrees, as David said, preventative health, investment in preventative health, a few dollars there are going to save a whole lot of dollars at the end of the funnel when somebody's in a crisis position. But it also goes to the way GPs are seeing patients and having to plough through patients quickly. There's a Taree GP who's just spoken at the Pain Management Conference up in Queensland that this electorate is also one of the highest in opioid opioid use. So again, it's another thing that we used to look at the Americans for and see their use of prescription medication and their addiction to prescription